Hi, welcome to One on the Page. I'm Scott. This is the weekly wrap up for the week of the 18th to the 24th of December. It's actually the 25th of December. I was supposed to film it yesterday, obviously Christmas Eve, a lot of family activities, so I didn't get a chance to do it. I am doing it today though. I finished 4 books this week. Every one of these books was an audiobook. I do not think that I read any of a physical book at all, even though I have several that I've been in the middle of reading. I did read a little bit on a Kindle book, but I did not finish it, so I'm going to talk about the 4 books that I did finish. The first book was Saint Mick by Mick Foley. Mick Foley is a retired professional wrestler. The book covers a little bit of his time after he retired, some of the reasons for he retired, but is generally about him becoming a Santa Claus. Uh, he did the Santa Claus role on WWE Raw for a few years, and he appeared in documentary I Am Santa Claus as kind of the novice Santa Claus, and he never really meant to make being Santa Claus a huge part of his life. But as somebody who loved Christmas himself, like me, has a Christmas room up all year round. Although mine's in my guest room and his is much more extensive than mine. Uh, it's kind of a natural progress to being Santa Claus, and it's a little bit of his stories about how it happened, some of the things that happened when he did the Santa Claus role, and how it affected his family. It talks about his father's death, his son's autism, a lot of personal stuff in there. And as I believe I mentioned with the Mox book, I won't call it biography because it wasn't. Foley is one of the few wrestlers who has written his own book, didn't use a ghostwriter at all, as Mox did. And his book up here, Have a Nice Day, as well as his Foley is good. Have a Nice Day is probably the best wrestler autobiography that there is. Some people may put a case for Bret Hitman Hart's book, and that's perfectly justifiable. I think that personally, I enjoy Foley's a little bit better. And some of the same writing is in here. Obviously, less about the wrestling world and more about this new world. But Mick knows how to tell a good story, and he tells it about his experiences here, just like he did with wrestling, and oftentimes tugs at the heartstrings too. So it wasn't always a fun read because sometimes talks about things. He also talked about doing volunteer work for Rain. Obviously, there's going to be some heavy stuff there, so not always a light read, but a good read. I'm going to give this one a 4 stars. The second book is Nick and Noel's Christmas Playlist by Cody Hall. This is a romance set at Christmas, obviously. Nick and Noel are two lifelong friends who basically at the beginning of the novel start feeling an attraction to each other. Nick has been in the military for 8 years or so. Uh, in that time, he has been in a relationship with a woman. They're at home, and she breaks up with him once he gets back. Uh, okay, so Nick, who had been thinking that he might marry this woman, I believe her name's Amanda, but I could be off there, uh, finds himself attracted to Noelle. Noelle finds herself attracted to him. She splits sort of with a guy she was kind of sort of casually seeing. It was very surface level. She doesn't like to get involved in emotional relationships because she lost her parents about 10 years before when she was a teenager. And so she has this thing where she feels if she loves somebody, they might die and leave her. Which, okay, but she also spends all her time with Nick's family, and Nick is her best friend, and her thoughts about why she can't be in a relationship with Nick doesn't make a lot of sense when you consider she is in a relationship with Nick. It's just not a romantic one. But okay, I guess we'll accept that. And basically, it's the trials and tribulations of them getting together, as you know that they will. Uh, Nick and Noel's relationship was fine. A lot of the side characters were very one dimensional, including Nick's two guy friends, who, although they're generally good guys, they're just not a lot of depth to them. Same with his ex girlfriend, who, for reasons that are explained in the book, sort of hates Noelle, as before she and Nick got together. Uh, Honestly, stupid reasoning. I believe that at the end of the book, there is a attempt to rehabilitate this character, and I'm like, no, that doesn't work. So, uh, it was okay. And again, I was listening to this while I was making cookies, so it did pass the time. I will give it a 3 star, being a little generous, but it is holiday season. The third book that I finished, also, well, making Christmas food, didn't quite work as well because of some tonal dissonance there, but it was The Year Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. Basically, it's about the year in her life after her husband died. And also, her daughter has a lot of medical issues and has spent time in the ICU, being hooked up and stuff. She's not having a good year, obviously. And I felt that a lot of the book resonated with me as somebody who has experienced loss myself. Some of it was like very nailed that exactly and a bit hard to listen to, quite honestly. Some of it was highly successful woman uh, in her 60s, 70s in New York that I don't quite relate to, but yeah, it was a short book. I think it ends of like about 225 pages or so. Uh, but it is very heavy to me, at least. And I think the story after is even heavier. It doesn't mention it in the book, but her daughter dies the next year. And there's also a book that she wrote about that, but I haven't read that. I don't think I'm going to. At least I have no plans to. There's a reason I read things like Nick and Noel's Christmas playlist, because you got something heavy here, and I need something light to get me over that heavy reading. I'm gonna give it a 4 star. like I said, there are a few things that I didn't really connect with, and I think she kind of went a little bit long on it, but the things that she did nail, she nailed. So the last book in all these books are very different from each other. The last book was The Hunter by Richard Stark. Richard Stark is a pseudonym of Donald E. Westlake, I believe. Donald E. Westlake, who has written many books, many under pseudonyms. Richard Stark, probably one of his most famous, and also has the character Parker in it. Parker is a robber, and Parker is the only name that we know of him. From a little research, that is the case in all his books. We never find out Parker's first name. It is a very gritty novel, I will say. If you don't know, Richard Stark has a little bit of an influence on Stephen King as far as the Richard Bachman pseudonym, and also the George Stark pseudonym in The Dark Half. Like I said, it's gritty. There's a lot of death, not any redemption. There's no lesson to be learned from this book. Uh, it it's the equivalent of a slasher in the horror category. You kind of go in this to see somebody kick ass, basically. I lost count of how many people Parker killed. A dozen, maybe. Uh, he has an emotional connection at the beginning of the book, sort of. But that emotional connection is disconnected, and from what I know in the rest of the books, he doesn't really have that thing. Uh, I don't know that I plan to read the rest of the books. I think there are probably going to be a lot of similarity between the books, and I do feel like I've read one book. I've read them all. I could be wrong, but that's the feeling I get. Uh, it was interesting. It didn't make a lot of sense. And some of the things that he did don't seem like they would work. Some of the actions people take, especially the person that he's basically hunting after, who double crosses Parker, and the way that he double crosses Parker without giving you too many spoilers just doesn't make sense to me at all, because he chooses to double cross Parker this way because he thinks if he does another way, Parker will see it coming, and somehow it makes sense that this is how they got the drop on him, but going to a flashback to that scene, it doesn't make sense to me. So I think there's a lot of logic fails in here. It was still entertaining, but very surface level. I'm going to give it a 3.5 because it was fun while I listened to it. But again, I don't think it's something that I'm going to go back to in the Parker series. So that's what I read. I'm also going to go over, since it's Christmas and we have opened our presents and celebrated the season, I'm going to let you know what books I got for Christmas. The first book, and all these books are for my daughter Robin, is Improve Your Word Power by Caroline Taggart. Test and build your vocabulary. I think my vocabulary is good. I think it's a little insulting that Robin would get this to me, but okay. No, I tend to like lots of books about language, as you will see further along here. So this is one that will probably be in the bathroom so that I can pull it out when I have a moment or two. So I will probably finish this book next year, but way over the span of the year. The second book is Did I Dick by Kurt Vonnegut, and it does look a little bit old. Uh, we don't have an issue in this house with giving people used books. It's not a problem that we have. Did I Dick? I don't know what it's about. Never read it. Obviously, Kurt Vonnegut. I have read Kurt Vonnegut before. Bluebeard is one of my favorite novels. Uh, I will probably, yes, pick this up at some point next year, but I don't know when. So I may go back to this next year and see if I got around to reading this. The next book is The Christmas Chronicles by Nigel Slaters. It is basically all about Christmas. If you haven't gathered by now, I'm quite the Christmas fan. There are recipes, there are stories, there's things about preparing for Christmas. Uh, I just tend to enjoy Christmas, so uh, it's also that's quite a lovely book. I this will make a nice addition to my Christmas library. This one I'll stay a little bit quieter because Robin is in the next room. I have the door closed, but uh, she got me A Christmas Story by Jean Shepherd. I already have this book. I have this exact book, but I am going to put this in the guest room, which is the Christmas room. So it will not be a book that I read because, as I said, I already have it in this book form, but it will be decor. So, and Robin knows this, and she will know this too if she watches video. She doesn't watch my video. I watch her videos, but she doesn't watch my videos. I think she's a little upset that I have more subscribers than her, but I also did videos ranking Stephen King books. So, I kind of cheated, I guess. I don't know. But this will probably be the one video that she does watch. Book by Book Notes on Reading and Life by Michael Dirda. This is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Criticism. Don't know anything about this. This is one of the books that Robin found, look like something that I would like. Probably is something that I would like. I just do not know anything about it yet, but it is a very short book. So if I get to a point where I want to add a book to a month and don't have a lot of time, probably could read this pretty quickly. This next book is not one I'm particularly happy about for reasons that I will explain. I'm happy that I got it because I told Robin I was planning to read Finnegan's Wake next year. Never read it. I know it's a difficult book, so I'm going to try to read it next year. I bought it already, and Robin got me Annotations to Finnegan's Wake by Roland McHugh, and this is what it looks like. This is daunting. Uh, the annotations to Finnegan's Wake are over 600 pages. Finnegan's Wake is over 600 pages too. So, yeah, I'm going to try to read it. We will see how that goes. I do appreciate this book. It's just very daunting. Hey, buddy. The next book I wanted, it was on my wish list. It's Garner's modern English usage. Uh, like I said, I like the English language, and this just looks like a great book. You almost fell. The next book I am not going to read. I may read some point in the future, but it is The Dead Zone by Stephen King. This was on my wish list also. I only have this in paperback form, so I got it in hardback form now. I'm slowly working my way to getting all of my books in a hardback. All my Stephen King books, not all of my books. That's a lot of books and a lot of money, and that's just not going to happen. I got A Wish for Wings That Work by Bert Breathed. Every Christmas Eve, we get uh, a Christmas Eve stocking, which has pajamas, a Christmas mug, and a Christmas book. This is what I got. I read this morning already. It's only 32 pages long, probably the shortest book of the year for me. It is very good, but I will talk about it next week. So the next one is from my son-in-law, Chris, who also got me a Peanuts, Charlie Brown Christmas tree, like, I don't know, about 2 feet maybe. Uh, which don't enjoy because the way he wrapped it took me like 5 minutes to open it. So also he does word searches by circling the individual letters. Something wrong with that boy. But he did get me the complete Peanuts by Charles Schulz. This is the years 1950 to 1952 and 1953 and 1954. So I forgive him for that. So because this is something I've had on my wish list for a while, as well as the other Peanuts books. But obviously, can't expect people to get you the entire set right away because that's a lot. The next one is P.G. Wodehouse, A Bounty of Blandings. That is 3 Blandings Castle novels or books. 1 Blandings Castle, 2 Summer Lightning, and 3 Heavy Weather. Summer Lightning and Heavy Weather are 2 of the best, I would say, Blandings Castle novels. I do not have these books. When I read these books before, it was listening to them on audiobooks. So since Rob and I are doing the PG Woodhouse podcast, it'll be helpful to have the book. Okay, and this next one is it is a Doonesbury retrospective. It is so heavy. It's very, very heavy. uh, Another book that I've had on my wish list. I do not know how I'm going to put it on my bookshelf. I am looking forward to reading this. I have read most of the Doonesbury comic books, but I haven't read any Doonesbury in years, so it'll be nice to go back to that. So that is all the books that I got for Christmas. Uh, Pretty much coming up on the final week. I mean, I have the 31st is on a Monday, so technically not the final week, but it's the full final week as I go on my way to 200 books. After having read the Burke Breathed book, I am at 193 books. I have 7 more books to hit 200. And as I've explained in previous videos, the only reason is because I feel I need to hit 200 because I've gotten that close. My mind says I have to have that number just works for me. If I hadn't gotten closer, then I probably wouldn't have minded as much. But I should be able to do it. 7 books. Several books I'm in the middle of, as I said before. And if I have to, I have Roald Dahl books that I can read. I would like to try to finish some of the books that I'm actually reading because, yes, if I read the Roald Dahl books, that gets me to 200, but it does feel like a little bit of a cheat. It does feel like a little bit of a cheat. So that is it. Happy holidays, since this will come out a little bit before New Year's. And please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will talk to you next time.